Welcome everyone to the opening session for FestiWell 2022. Starting today, May 2nd until May 13th, the European University for Wellbeing will be hosting its second annual FestiWell under the title Towards Global Sustainable Wellbeing. At this opening session, we will get to listen to some voices from the EUniWell collaboration, take part of a panel dialogue at which you can ask questions, and watch a music video. The session will be concluded with a concept we call EUniTea, but more about that later. I now present to you EUniWell Chief Development Officer, Beatrix Busse, Professor of English Linguistics. Welcome.
Hello, everybody, and good afternoon to this, as we've just heard, second FestiWell session, really, our week of celebrating EUniWell and our way of, showcasing also what we've achieved so far. We've just heard, thanks to Johannes and thanks for the introduction, the topic of this year's FestiWell, which is towards global and sustainable well-being. Now, we have seen this already, that well-being as such is increasingly acknowledged as being at the heart also of Europe and perhaps the world. We've seen it in a number of papers published, for example, by the Council of Europe or the OECD Better Life Initiative, measuring well-being and progress. And I'm sure we'll hear about this because we are also trying to measure and also to, see how we can actually improve well-being, because EUniWell, the European University for Wellbeing, in its mission statement says that together we'll help create a world in which individual, societal, and environmental well-being are in synergy, in which we flourish and prosper together. So we'll not just research this, but from our research results, we'll also try to improve it. And it's, of course, then the educational aspect will include as well, which means also the participation of the student, which is really at the heart of what EUniWell is doing. And as such, EUniWell, or well-being as such, should not just be considered as an either or, just focusing, for example, on health and well-being, or just on individuals and social well-being, or the environment, or even teacher education, which are four of the areas we're focusing on, but we use a holistic approach to well-being as such. And this is very important for us, and probably has become even more important during what we have experienced in the last 2.5 years in the pandemic, and now with the war in Ukraine. We think the topic of well-being has become even more important. And with that, we are really committed to advancing our understanding of well-being, underpinned by research, by education, modeled by our partner universities, and also sharing what we have found out and what we teach broadly. So I think that for the mission of universities, if we look at that, to create education, to create new knowledge, we with that, also with the openness we have, we also follow European values, and most importantly, probably also the freedom of science and education. We, as partners in EUniWell, see ourselves as bridge builders between those who are united in the aim to create and generate knowledge and education, and to create a sustainable, peaceful, and human-centered world. With this in mind, the freedom of science and education, which is really at our heart. And as we've seen, we very much have to fight for these always and again, which then includes also the values that the European Union as such has put forward. And with the complexities, dynamics, and well, the global upheavals we're currently certainly witnessing, I think it's more and more important that we share our expertise, that we work together, that we have trust in science and trust science, and that with this participation, with this joining forces, which we are doing, and with being the change makers of the future, we actually also show what lived democracy actually means. And we educate and train and work with, and that's most important, the next generation of leaders, and we'll meet one in a second. And with that, we also think that we can generate change and transformation and well-being from within, which is also at the heart of what EUniWell's program is about. And in that sense, we try to move towards global and sustainable well-being of the future. So with that, an internal transformation is also included, and we know how difficult change is and what kind of conservative forces it may encounter, but we've seen the time is now to move towards this with well-being in mind, in education, in research, to contribute to solving some of the big societal challenges. And if we look at the program, at the outstanding program which the team has prepared, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I'd like to thank you all who have prepared this. We look, for example, at creating well-being through the new European Bauhaus, contributions from Florence, Nantes, and hosted by Linnaeus. Or on May 4th, urban well-being and better quality of life from the University of Birmingham. Creating a EUniWell climate fresque, an online collaborative workshop focused on triggering action on climate change from Nantes. A joint celebration, of course, of Europe Day, with a special call for peace and unity in Europe, which is so important, and which is what we are really fighting for right now as well, through our means, through science, through education on May 9th. And also a lecture entitled Faces of Wellbeing from the University of Florence, or a panel discussion focused on health promotion, disease prevention, and public health. And a roundtable from Semmelweis, of course, and a roundtable on collaborative online international learning from Leiden. So thank you to you all for preparing this, an outstanding program with adamant promoters of well-being and for well-being, with wonderful colleagues, students who have all given everything to make this an amazing event. And in the past few months, the EUniWell Alliance has made some additions to strengthening our alliance both now and for our future sustainability. So we are working on that as well. We have added the University of Murcia in Spain as our 8th partner. And it's my very pleasure to also introduce, although Johannes will do that as well, again, Professor Senena Corbalan, who will also then later on introduce her university, a professor of molecular biology, and Graham Harrisson, Dr. Graham Harrisson, who joined us in February as the EUniWell Managing Director. He moved to the EUniWell head office from Washington, DC, that far. So from the States, where he previously worked for the World Bank and the US National Science Foundation. He's a chemical engineer by training and was also a tenured faculty member at Clemson University. So fantastic to have you. And then Dr. Karen Buchanan, a political ecologist and systemic coach who's worked in the field of sustainability, really within diverse research-intensive organizations in Europe and beyond. She joined EUniWell as the Director of Integration last month. So you see how important that kind of transformational change is for us as well. It's fantastic. And then we also have a new EUniWell Chief Student Officer, Lotte Nagelhout, who started in March in her new role. And she is a first-year research master of science and archaeology student at Leiden University, specializing impressively in physical anthropology. Lotte, it's great also to have you, and we look forward really to the discussions we'll have in a minute. And with that, I think I hand over to Johannes again.
Thank you so much, Beatrix. Very interesting. It is now time for Senena Corbalan, Vice-Rector for Research at University of Murcia and Professor of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, to take the floor. Welcome.
Thank you, Johannes, and thank you, Beatrix. I mean, it is a pleasure for us to join this event at FestiWell. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity of attending this meeting and present the University of Murcia in a nutshell only, and to show some of the experiences that we are developing in terms of sustainability. So I'm going to share the screen because I have a short presentation just to show our university. Let me see. So I guess now everybody can see the screen. And just to start, just showing that the University of Murcia is a comprehensive university with about 33,000 students spread in 21 faculties. And we are really very proud because we are internationally renowned for disability services and social inclusion. Our university is ranked again this year amongst the top 100 universities worldwide for 4 individual SDGs, and 3 of them are closely related and connected to EUniWell key arenas. So we are also highly ranked by Shanghai in the field of veterinary science and agriculture and food science and technology. Also, like many universities in Europe, we have a strong international outlook. And 2 years ago, we were awarded with the Human Resources Strategy for Researchers Quality Seal. And one of the reasons that attracted us, our interest in EUniWell at the beginning, was the Alliance's impressive dynamism and commitment to SDGs. And I'm going to show you one of the projects that we have been developing at the University of Murcia during the last 3 years. And it's called Obsesiones. Obsesiones is based on the acronym in Spanish for SDGs, and obsessions is related to obsessions in a positive way, just to commit the SDGs. At the University of Murcia, each month was dedicated to an individual SDG, as you can see in the small panels, and the faculties most closely related to its content have hosted conferences, art exhibitions, cultural and solidarity actions, all of them with social impact and transformation in constant collaboration with different NGOs and other members of the civil society. The project has been extremely successful, and it has received different national and regional awards. And you can see the general impact that we have on the right that we have obtained. And you can see that more than 200 new NGOs have been associated to the project. Almost 500 activities were carried out during the 3 years. And you can see more than 20,000 attendees, 250 sponsors, and you can see also that we were having more than 48,000 visits to videos and didactic materials that were generating during each activity. And also the website had received 63,000 visits. In general, so we are really very proud with this project, and you can see that it's quite aligned to the different arenas that are developed also in EUniWell. Let me show you also another example, which is called the University of Murcia as a Living Lab project, in which we are developing or deploying sensors to monitor energy consumptions and energy production, also monitoring a lot of things related to environment, the laboratories, the mobility and control, also monitoring buildings and so on. And in addition, we are also generating a system to data integrate, like a platform to data integrate to use in open science, open data, and open innovation experimentation. So you can see that this horizontal support with those small examples for sustainability facilitates the alignment of the University of Murcia with the vision and mission of EUniWell, and reinforces the contribution that our university could make in the 4 thematic arenas and the 2 transversal arenas of EUniWell. So more going concretely to each arena, so you can see that in Arena 1, well-being and health, our community has already more than 3,000 publications related to SDG 3 in the last year. We have also associated a biomedical research institute, which is leading a hospital for organ transplants in Spain. And also our researchers are participating in a wide variety of international projects financed by NIH and also Harrisson 2020. You can see that we have an ERC and also many cost actions. Also, our research lines or focus is interested also for EUniWell because we have also projects with healthy literacy and more than 20 years experience in artificial intelligence, applied to real clinical settings. So in general, we also participate with the One Health approach because we had the veterinary school together with the medical and biology school. Concerning the second arena in individual and social well-being, so this year we have been ranked again in the top 100 universities for this SDG 16, and you can see that our community is also highly involved in projects from Harrisson 2020 and Erasmus Plus concerning biolaw. Also, you can see here mediation for social inclusion and several Jean Monnet chairs and projects. Regarding the Arena 3, environment, urbanity, and well-being, this year we have been ranked in the top 200 worldwide universities, and also a very close related SDG is the number 14, life below water, which this year we have been ranking 34th position worldwide. You can see that we have a lot of projects in Harrisson 2020 and also live projects that are closely studying Internet of Things, sustainability, and climate change. In relation to Arena 4, teacher education, we can see that our community is also ranked among the 300 worldwide in QS ranking, and we have a lot of strategic partnerships from Erasmus Plus, which are concentrated mainly in educational technology and innovation. And this year also we are participating in an Erasmus Plus Teacher Academy. So concerning gender, the transversal key arenas for gender equality is something that is embedded already in all our policies and activities. And our researchers take part in international research connected to EUniWell priorities. And also we host a very active office for social attention services that is, in the context of the COVID pandemic, was also developing a very nice project called No Student Behind to help all the students with economical problems during the COVID pandemic. We are also very proud because our rector also is the president of the CRUE section devoted to student affairs. And just to conclude, we would like to emphasize, as you saw here, just in a short sightseeing, that the University of Murcia shares ambition, mission, and vision of EUniWell. And we are really deeply working right now towards our integration into the Alliance with the confidence that we can make a very meaningful contribution to EUniWell. And I am really very happy and open to any question that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senena. And welcome to EUniWell, I have to say.
Thanks a lot.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a panel dialogue on the theme Reflections on Well-being and Sustainability in the University Context and Beyond. You're all welcome to ask questions in the Q&A. You find this in the menu bar at the bottom of the Zoom window. Our panelists are, you have heard two of them giving speeches here already, Beatrix Busse and Senena Corbalan. And we will also, in the panel, you will also see EUniWell Managing Director, Dr. Graham Harrisson, EUniWell Director of Integration, Dr. Karen Buchanan, and Chief Student Officer of EUniWell, Lotte Nagelhout. So my first question here it's for you, Lotte. What is the student experience in terms of sustainable well-being?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So students have been highly active already within green initiatives. For example, since 2010, there's the green office movement that we have on several of our universities, and students form a major part in taking the initiative of that, as well as the organizational role. And more broadly, universities often carry out the message of think globally and act locally, which conveys the integration of sustainable but reachable goals that should be known for students as well. So I think students' overall experience that universities are much working together to have reachable and sustainable goals.
Yeah, thank you. What, in your opinion, would you say that students would like to see going forward?
Yeah, so moving on to that, from that point as well, students would like to see more structural integration of sustainability within all aspects of the university's workings, which is also one of the things of the Green Office movement, for example. This includes education, but also research and overall facilities. And in general, students would like to see that a sustainable mindset is created among staff and students alike. And this could be fostered by having realistic and transparent goals and expectations of what is done already and what needs to be done in the future. And more specifically, for example, this includes transparency on long-term sustainability plans. What I've seen from my work with students, more specifically, there are a lot of small actions done by universities, such as, for example, reducing the use of plastic cups. And these are often pushed for. However, large-scale strategies such as 5-year plans or 10-year plans are often unknown and unreachable to students. Thus, my mission would be, as students, to create an environment in which universities can be transparent and communicate such long-term plans with them, as universities play an important role in fostering sustainability within their local community as well. So I think transparency and long-term plans should be accessible to the students, and that was something that they would like to see.
Thank you. Do any of the other panelists wish to add anything to Lotte's thoughts and answers here? No.
I mean, perhaps you've just seen that we just need the students and we cooperate with them really on a very intensive basis. And this is what we also foster in our daily work together, and also is almost a mission in the European University for Wellbeing. And they know exactly what they want: long-term, short-term results on the sustainable, on a real strategy on all levels and all missions, but also on the everyday life, how to produce less paper or use less paper, and so on and so on. So all sorts of issues come up, and we have to listen very carefully, I think.
Thank you. The next question is for you, Beatrix, and for Senena. What is EUniWell's understanding of sustainable well-being? What areas of tension are there, and what contributions can we make towards this aim as an alliance? Who would like to start?
Beatrix, probably.
I mean, yeah, we can play. We can play more experience. We can play ping pong. I mean, okay. As I mentioned before, we really decided to do no more, but also no less than to say we have a holistic approach to well-being, and that this, is not just the individual, it's also society and the planet. That we, on the basis of the analysis of where we had strength, identified the focus on particular SDGs, for example, such as 3 or 11 and so on. And I think this is our understanding of well-being, how we can not just analyze it, but also improve well-being, also in the sense as Lotte has just explained it, and how we can, you know, educate and train towards becoming globally sustainable. And I think for that, we need this cooperation. We need to work together to bring our strengths together, but the huge tensions that also appear, what we see, or difficulties or challenges is, of course, where do we start? How do we do this? How do we bring the different cultures together? If we say we want to be the employer of the future, you know, how do we respect the different traditions at the universities, and at the same time really show there are precarious job situations, for example? How do we make the life of the next generation of researchers, for example, better? Where do we invest the money we've got, and so on? Of course, we have tons of deliverables, we all know this, but we really have to make an impact. And we also know, and this has been discussed, that some of the SDGs in a way create tensions. So do we control? Do we totally renew our lifestyle? Who is in charge, you know? And for example, if we want to change, if we really want to do about climate change, anything about climate change, then Western lifestyle has to change for it to affect also the global south, for example. So all of these issues come up and create tensions. But for us, we're adamant to still go for it and make a move and really be the change makers that we are labeled to be as European universities.
Do you have anything you would like to add, Senena?
I would like to, I mean, I completely agree with Beatrix in the terms that she was just expressing her ideas. And I think that universities, we cannot forget that we are the main generators of knowledge and ideas. And this is our essence. So we are just now facing a very important change of paradigm, in the sense that now we are, at least the way I see it, is that we are moving from a very individualistic way to a completely cooperative way of working. So at the beginning, I mean, we are going to make like a very, very big effort. And I think now, I mean, the work that is being done in the Alliance is just identifying our strengths at every level. And in that way, is quite not very difficult. I mean, it's difficult, but it's a way of finding a way of collaborating. And we are going to do like a co-creation from the very bottom. So just going bottom up, in a system bottom up, I mean, with all the community working together. I mean, staff, students, professors, researchers, everybody's needed. So we need to switch our minds, but at the same time, we need to be well balanced by ourselves, because if you are not equilibrated mentally and healthy, I mean, you need to do a training first with yourself, and after you will be able to be for the community. So, and also we need to create a community that in which everyone feels comfortable and feels that fits any way or any mode that one is thinking and working or likes. So this is like a very difficult strategy to get and address if we had to be taking also into account that we are very different institutions by ourselves, because our foundation are completely different. So probably the strategy is just cooperate a lot. I mean, just doing the analysis, design strategies for anything that we need in education for our students and for research and so on, and with a panel, huge panels of indicators that are enabling us to analyze continuously if those strategies are working well or not. Also, there is also an important thing that we cannot forget, and we all are conscious that sustainability at the moment is expensive, and probably we need to focus also in solving first those challenges, in the sense that if we want to be sustainable, we need an economical impact there, input there, quite big, you know, because I mean, any option that we are going to address at the moment, the challenge is that it's very expensive. Given the economical crisis that we have now, this can be a big tension or a big problem to solve at the moment. So probably we had to face with the good intention, and I think that we already are very willing to move in that direction, and we know this is the future, but probably we are going to be very patient and design strategies that are taking us and paving the way just to get deep success. But I'm pretty sure that changing our minds just to be highly cooperatives all together, I mean, independently of our role in the university, because all of us are important and we are like a small pieces of a puzzle, and we all are important and needed to build this new way of working. And I think at the end we will be successful and we'll be able to change things.
Thank you. Would any of the other panelists like to add anything to what Senena and Beatrix have said so far about this question? Graham, Karen, or Lotte?
Maybe I would like to build upon what Senena said about how universities are not only knowledge producers, but they are also an example for the rest of the community, that is not necessarily only the academic community, but also the broader community as well. And if we can set a nice example by being sustainable and following sustainable goals, we will also get people behind us that are not necessarily directly associated with our academic environment.
Thank you.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I mean, when I mention knowledge, I also mean values, which is probably one of the most important things. And this is something that probably now with the new ways of funding, we are in a risk because we had to preserve our academic freedom and values on top of everything, because this is the way of, now we want to be sustainable, we want to defend sustainability, and we know this is the way. It's important to keep our academic freedom and our values. One of the most important things that we have, independent of politics, funding, and so on. Yeah, completely agree, Lotus.
Yeah, so it's academic freedom, of course. It's also the freedom of science in that sense, and education, and given an example then also means that we have to communicate well. We also know that science communication is the new hot topic, and it's something, it might as well make sense to discuss what that actually means. For me, education is already science communication in that sense, because there is no teaching and education without science, and the other way around. So for me, these are dialectic ways that I just have to work together, or areas of expertise. So in that sense, so how do we do this? Also, how do we, work together in an interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary team, and then transfer this? So these are all issues. It's not easy to do that, although we all know that given the huge and the huge challenges we have to face, we need the expertise, as you said, Senena, and you as well, Lotte, from everybody really to contribute to that. But it's also not easy to find a common language, and that takes time. And I guess that's also a message to put forward to whoever will be funding us and so on, that these things take time, whatever we will be doing. And also, realizing a mission, if it can be realized, is also something that takes time, and we need to get the people involved and so on. Yeah.
Also, is something very important is ethic, because ethic and critical thinking, that we have to work all together, because right now it's true that the development in many different techniques and approach is amazing. The speed and the number of data and the way that we are using data is completely different to 10 years ago. The paradigm has changed a lot. And I think this is going to, in a very fast speed, and ethics and concern are a little bit behind. So we need to train our students. We need to train even our, all our students and researchers, even for us and professors, in the new advances and this critical thinking, because there is a danger there too if we are not aligned and considering the proper things. Yeah, also.
Thank you for your good and elaborate answers. And I have a question for Karen and Graham. What key steps can we take as an alliance to align our values and create, advance, and foster global sustainable well-being in the future?
Thank you very much for that question, Johannes. I think it's important to note that the EUniWell Alliance, and actually all European universities, as was just said, I think by Beatrix, that they should not just be seen as projects with deliverables. What we're trying to create is a European university that includes long-term relationships. That's for the students, that's for academics and researchers who are collaborating. That's for the university operations, the administrative staff that do so much behind the scenes. And it takes time to build those long-term relationships. It takes time to build trust, share successes, even share failures, and then pilot activities and move towards a greater good as each of the institutions within the alliance as a whole. And to me, I also think about sustainability, not just in terms of environmental sustainability and the impact of that, but also the long-term sustainability as a long-term viable university alliance, a true European university. In that way, I think the goal for EUniWell is to be an exemplar European university focused on well-being. It's the academic side, it's teaching, it's research, it's dissemination in the academic sense through typical journal articles and academic conferences. But also, I think, as everyone else has alluded to, it's also disseminating and sharing our results and our values with society, our education and our research, and really in ways that can be taken up and absorbed by others. So I think it's to leverage each of our individual strengths, the 8 universities that we have, but also make sure that those sum up to become more than the sum of our parts. How do we really build cooperation to advance faster than we would in other ways? And I think we need to think about students and staff. What does well-being mean? How does research and institutional policies affect well-being for everybody in the university community? How can that, again, be a model for broader society? And I think long-term, so to sum up, EUniWell has to become, over time, a real part of each of the member institutions with all the stakeholders. And then we can see how our successes can help change higher education society, in addition to within the university, European University for Wellbeing Alliance itself. Thank you.
So maybe I can build on what, in fact, Graham and others before have been saying. I think one of the things that draws all of us into this is the very idea of sustainable well-being. This is something that each and every one of us, from our individual values, can find resonance with. And I think we are all deeply curious about what that can look like. So when you talk about, the ways in which we can foster global sustainable well-being, I think for a lot of us who've been working for many, many years in the whole sustainability arena of policy and practice, we can relate very, very strongly to that. This is a process of really changing people's hearts and minds. This is what we do inside our universities. This is what we're doing, linking together the concepts and the practices of well-being and sustainability. So it's not about having the two things going off in different directions, but really always building upon each other. So I think one of the processes that we're going to be involved in is becoming more in contact with what it is our inherent value systems are, and linking these into the sustainable well-being agenda that we want to create. And I think from EUniWell building out, it's about going outside the university walls, about us in our role as research intensive, teaching intensive, knowledge institutes, catalyzing discussions and engagement on this topic, attracting strong partners to work with us who also share that same dream. So without getting too floaty about this, but I do think there is a dream that we all connect to when we do focus and allow ourselves to focus on what it is we really want going forward. And so we're going to be building on the existing relationships that we have in each one of our university cities and regions with like-minded people that want to join up in partnerships with us to make this dream more and more of a reality. So seeing us as EUniWell as a system with all sorts of different component parts, with all sorts of different voices. We very much also espouse the value of deep democracy here. So all voices are being heard. That's why we also have Lotte and her colleagues engaged. It's about having people at all levels with all different experiences speaking to what this is actually going to be translated to in practice. And I think we are very much looking for bi-directional exchange of knowledge and experience, and also starting to explore really the building of a well-being economy. So as Senena was speaking to about the economic dimension, and where we also need to be able to look at that and to see where as universities we can play a role.
Thank you, Karen and Graham. Beatrix, would you like to give a short summary of the dialogue?
Yes, no problem. I had to have this task to really pay attention, and of course it was an easy task because, and Karen, you just mentioned this dream. You know, there are two, like Karen and also Graham coming from Washington, D.C. to join the team. I mean, just imagine. So in a way, for us working on this is in a way a dream come true. So people really doing this, moving from the States to Europe. Karen, you have also given up a job to join the team. I mean, this is something, and this shows the way we are so people positive. It will be about the people, it is about the people, the diversity of people. And I think that's one aspect of well-being we have all stressed, and which is very dear to us. It doesn't mean it's easy to do this, the diversity of institutions that are bringing people together. But I think this is what we're best at sometimes, you know, and this is what university is about, fostering the creativity through diversity, and with that solving these big issues, and also intergenerational, intersectorial, trans and interdisciplinary, in a trans and interdisciplinary way. I think we've all stressed this. And I also, if we think of the core mission again, of the European University for well-being, and then the co-creation, the European values we share of being diverse, of being inclusive, of being co-creative. For example, this is also the freedom of Europe, or the values, sorry, of Europe, which is something that immediately feeds and pays back to what we do at universities and what our core mission is. That is, again, I'd like to stress that again, and you have all said this in one way or another, really creating new knowledge, educating and training the next generation, but also with doing this with them. This is what we're there for, and this is what we're best at. Through this creativity we can generate just like that if we just create the right conditions. And again something we have stressed. I have mentioned before, Lotte, when you voiced your opinion of what is important, that students know what they want, the sustainable mindset, how we work together, long-term, short-term, the green activities, but also having also a holistic approach to well-being and also to sustainability, and being transparent what we do. We heard you, very important. And this also relates to health and well-being, mental health. I just spoke to a colleague today, and we've all said this, perhaps this pandemic and what we're experiencing now has left a trace on all of us, which we should deal with, I think. And we therewith, I think, have to step together to really move together as we're doing. It's probably a bit of our medicine as well, joining forces in the European University for Wellbeing. That's how I feel sometimes, of how we can, really share the load and also share the fun of working together. We mentioned what it costs, to be really sustainable, to work towards that. At the same time, this again is what we need to do, is valid. And universities becoming also examples of society. So we should set an example as well in terms of values, in terms of communication, freedom of science, ethics was mentioned, and critical thinking. And we are not just a project with deliverables. No, we're definitely not. I can already say this is what we're not, definitely not. We have a mission, we're passionate. We are very enthusiastic people working on this whole project. So that's fantastic. And that relates to the resonance that was mentioned by Karen, because resonant means for example, some of the scientific approaches to resonance means to really work together with people and to finding this kind of relation. So that's very important. And this is, again, as I've said and summarized before, one dimension of well-being, in addition to the research and the education in the different arenas and the hardcore research areas and strengths we have identified. So I guess I leave it at that. 45 minutes of discussion covered all areas of EUniWell, more or less, I would say. It's fun, and it's a mission.
Thank you, Beatrix, and thank you to all the other panelists as well. It is now time for us to watch a music video. Students from the music program at Linnaeus University perform the song Colors by the artist Lale. Enjoy. If it will start soon, I hope. Anytime now.
Hi, we are students from Linnaeus University Singer-Songwriting Program. We wish you an exciting FestiWell.
I had a talk with the shadow and the light, fighting for me. They said, put your tricks aside, and for once believe. How can I don't. I never did, I don't know how to. But when it's not enough to fight for me, I'm gonna wanna live and fight for you. Just because it's black in the dark, oh, doesn't mean there's no colors. Just because it's black in the dark, doesn't mean there's no colors.
Talk with the shadow and the light, oh, looking at me. They said put your reason aside, and for once believe. How can I don't. I never did, I don't know how to. And if I ever stop believing in me, I know I always can believe in you.
Just because it's black in the dark, oh, doesn't mean there's no colors. Just because it's black in the dark, doesn't mean there's no colors.
and the light fighting for me. Oh, hey, color. Oh, hey, color.
Doesn't mean there's no color.
I pulled up my roots from the bottom. I was caught in.
Such beautiful voices. If you wish to see more of the students, they will perform a live stream concert tomorrow at Linnaeus University's FestiWell Day at 12:15 Central European Time. We have now come to the last part of this opening session, the EUniTea. EUniTea is a format coined by the EUniWell team at which we enjoy a tea or drink of your choice and exchange ideas in a relaxed atmosphere. The topic of this EUniTea is well-being from your own perspective. In order to join the EUniTea session, click on the link in the chat below. Below the video, you will find it. We hope that many of you will join this session as well. And before you leave, thank you all for taking part of the opening session for this year's FestiWell.
Thank you.
Thank you.